Support for Medicare for All is rapidly gaining momentum in Congress, and insurance companies are starting to get a little bit nervous. Now, yesterday, Pramila Jayapal introduced the new comprehensive Medicare for All legislation. Now, this legislation, HR, I think, what is it, 1394, I believe, and I don't want to get that wrong, was introduced yesterday with more than 100 House Democrats and progressive groups backing it. Now, what happened with the health insurance companies and stocks is kind of awesome in response. Apparently, these stocks plunged. The S&P 500, according to Common Dreams, managed healthcare index plunged as much as 4.9%, the most since December 6th, led by United Health Group Inc., Humana, and WellCare Health Plans. Insurers United Health and Cigna Corporation, which also own the country's largest pharmacy benefit managers, were also down about 4%. Well, now why so nervous? Well, under Jayapal's plan, the U.S. would transition to a Medicare for All system over the period of 2 years. So that's actually more ambitious than Bernie Sanders' original plan, which would take about 4 years. Now, there are some legitimate concerns about moving so fast to that system, and they were shared by, of course, a person that I trust to break down Medicare for All and to break down pieces of legislation. So I'm not sure if that's a concern that is, I don't know if it would really stop this, but it is a legitimate concern if you want to bring it to the table, saying maybe we need to space it out a little bit more to prevent sort of a system shock and long wait times, right? And again, that's why Bernie's Medicare for All system, or I should say plan, actually spaced it out 4 years, giving it to, gradually extending it down through the ages, right? But anyway, let's get to more of the reaction here, right? Oh, I'm sorry. I want to add and let you know what's more in the bill first. Now, this bill is more comprehensive, right? Just like Sanders' plan, it would add vision, dental, hearing, mental and reproductive health, addiction services, elderly care, and more. Now, there are also legitimate concerns about, hey, look, there's a lot of jobs in the health insurance industry. I've had people come to me with that question and say, what are we going to do for everybody that works in insurance? So there's a lot of people working in the insurance industry. They're all going to lose their jobs. What's going to happen to these guys and gals? Well, this bill addresses that, and it would provide 5 years of displacement funding, which includes job training and benefits for people who would be displaced as the health insurance industry is basically shut down because Medicare for All. So again, these people are going to lose their jobs, but they will be covered by displacement funding for a period of 5 years to help them get back on their feet. Well, that's kind of awesome. So the Jayapal bill is really, very bold, very progressive. And I think it would be the gold standard of healthcare. It would even be better than the Canadian system, which is kind of amazing. All with no premiums, copays, or any sort of money out of pocket. Now, an interesting piece in this legislation would also be that insurance companies would still exist to an extent, right? They would be very, very limited and would only be able to cover things that Medicare does not cover, which I just said before, there's an extensive list of things that Medicare for All does cover. So what insurance companies would exist would be incredibly limited, probably to things like cosmetic procedures, right? Which I think is fine. So look, this is a great bill. This is a great piece of legislation. And having 100 co-sponsors in the House, that's amazing. Now, of course, that is why insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies are really nervous, and even investors are letting these stocks go in free fall. Now, I want to give you Jayapal's response to this, which I think is fantastic. She said, in response to the stocks falling, quote, "Sorry, not sorry." Awesome. Damn. Now, Dr. Adam Gaffney, I've got a quote here. He's the president of Physicians for a National Health Program. He said in a statement on Wednesday that, quote, "The only way to achieve universal and comprehensive coverage is to eliminate the profits and waste of the private insurance industry, which drains hundreds of millions of dollars from our healthcare system each year." So the reason I give you that quote is to show you basically why we're pushing this, why we're doing this. Because, look, it is a cheaper system going to a single payer, and all the studies have borne that out. Even the Koch-funded study, which showed that we saved at least $2 trillion from our current cost of our healthcare system. So that's why it's important. And of course, you have to think of the human costs as well. Now, the health insurance industry and pharmaceutical industry, which would be massively reined in, again, the health insurance would be almost completely eliminated, and pharmaceutical companies, thanks to provisions in this piece of legislation, which would, allow Medicare, for example, or allow the government to negotiate drug prices and to get, cheaper drugs from Canada and other price-saving measures, don't like this. In fact, they hate this legislation, and so they are in panic mode. And so now you can see, and you will see, that these industries are going to mount a full-scale assault on this. Already they've started. The Partnership for America's Healthcare Future coalition, formed by major pharmaceutical and insurance interests, is now planning a big nationwide effort to undermine single payer and to undermine the push for single payer. So watch out for that. But no worries, the battle is joined. According to Common Dreams, National Nurses United and other grassroots organizations are planning to counter that with a nationwide mobilization of their own in the coming weeks in order to fight back. So you gotta love that. Fight back we will, by the way. And we're gonna fight back until we get Medicare for all, until healthcare is considered a human right. That's what we've got to do. And at the end, we're going to win. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.